the other hand, a little fright never hurt anyone.
Oh, do we have to go in there?
Don't worry, as long as I'm with you, you have nothing to be afraid of.
It started as a simple 3-hour tour and became television's most enduring survival story. A silly sitcom that network executives thought was too stupid to succeed, yet it's been in continuous reruns for nearly 60 years. Gilligan's Island. For generations of viewers, this tale of 7 castaways represents pure escapist entertainment. But what if I told you that behind the coconut radios and bamboo inventions lies a world of secrets, cast rivalries, and Hollywood magic that even devoted fans have never discovered? The show that almost never happened before Gilligan ever set foot on that fateful boat, creator Sherwood Schwartz faced a Hollywood nightmare. Nobody wanted his show. Network executives thought the premise of castaways stranded on a deserted island was too ridiculous for television audiences to accept. They kept asking me, why don't they just build a boat and leave? Schwartz revealed years later. I had to explain that if they left, there would be no show. CBS initially rejected the pilot, calling it too silly and unrealistic for primetime television. What saved Gilligan's Island was a last-minute scheduling crisis. When another show fell through, CBS desperately needed content and reluctantly picked up Schwartz's stupid island comedy. The original pilot featured different actors and a completely different tone, darker and more realistic. The network's lack of faith actually worked in the show's favor, giving Schwartz creative freedom because executives assumed it would fail quickly anyway. This benign neglect allowed pure creative chaos to flourish. The real island that became TV paradise. The shocking truth about Gilligan's Island is that it was never filmed on an actual island. The entire tropical paradise was created on CBS Studio Center's backlot in Los Angeles, using movie magic that would seem primitive by today's standards. The famous lagoon where the SS Minnow sat wrecked was actually a small man-made pond on the studio lot. Production designer Oliver Emmert revealed that they surrounded the pond with tropical plants and painted backdrops to create the illusion of an endless ocean. What fans don't realize is how fragile this artificial paradise was. California weather constantly threatened the fake tropical environment. Rain would wash away the sand beaches, and wind would blow down the palm trees that weren't even real palms, but carefully disguised California plants. The most elaborate deception was the island's vast interior. Multiple small sets were built to represent different locations, but they were all within walking distance of each other. The castaways' epic jungle adventures took place in an area smaller than most suburban backyards. Bob Denver's Gilligan, the accidental hero. Bob Denver's transformation into Gilligan represented one of television's most unlikely casting decisions. Denver was primarily known as a serious dramatic actor from The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis, and network executives worried he couldn't handle physical comedy. I had to convince them that I could be clumsy and lovable instead of cool and intellectual, Denver explained. He developed Gilligan's distinctive mannerisms by studying silent film comedians, particularly Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton. Denver's most important creative decision was insisting that Gilligan never be mean-spirited or deliberately destructive. Gilligan had to be innocent, Denver noted. His disasters had to come from good intentions gone wrong, never from malice. This kept the character sympathetic despite causing endless problems. Many of Gilligan's most memorable moments were pure improvisation. Denver's natural clumsiness and timing created physical comedy that couldn't be scripted. The famous hat falling off gag happened accidentally during the first episode and became Gilligan's signature move. Alan Hale Jr. as Skipper, more than comic relief. Alan Hale Jr.'s portrayal of the skipper drew from genuine maritime experience that most viewers never realized was authentic. Hale had actually worked on boats and understood seamanship, which gave his character unexpected depth beneath the comic bluster. The skipper wasn't just a buffoon, Hale explained. He was a competent seaman dealing with an incompetent first mate. This dynamic created the show's central relationship, professional frustration mixed with genuine affection. The famous Gilligan yelling wasn't random anger, but carefully calibrated exasperation. Hale and Denver worked together to perfect the timing, making the skipper's explosions feel like a father figure dealing with a well-meaning but hopeless child. What fans never saw were deleted scenes showing the skipper's darker moments, genuine despair about their situation and responsibility for his passengers' fate. These scenes were cut because they made the show too serious, but they revealed Hale's dramatic range beneath the comedy. The real magic was Hale and Denver's off-camera friendship, which translated into authentic on-screen chemistry that no amount of acting could fake. The professor's impossible inventions. Russell Johnson approached the professor with scientific seriousness that elevated absurd situations into believable comedy. Johnson revealed that he consulted with actual scientists and engineers to make his ridiculous invention seem theoretically possible. "I wanted the professor's explanations to sound legitimate," Johnson noted. "If I could sell the science, audiences would accept the impossibility." This commitment to pseudoscientific accuracy made the professor's contraptions more entertaining than simple fantasy. The show's running joke, that the professor could build anything except a boat to get them off the island, was carefully maintained through 3 seasons. Writers had to constantly invent reasons why escape remained impossible, despite increasingly sophisticated technology. Johnson created extensive backstory for the professor that never appeared on screen. In his mind, the character was a former government scientist who was actually relieved to be away from military research and weapons development. Fan theories about the professor's true identity ranged from government spy to time traveler, but Johnson insisted he was simply a man who found peace in using knowledge to help others rather than harm them. Thurston Howell III, old money meets new comedy. Jim Backus transformed Thurston Howell III from a simple rich man stereotype into a complex commentary on American class consciousness. Backus drew inspiration from real wealthy individuals he'd encountered in Hollywood, creating a character who was simultaneously ridiculous and oddly dignified. Howell represented old money trying to maintain standards in impossible circumstances, Backus explained. The character's insistence on formal dress and proper etiquette while stranded on a desert island created comedy through pure determination to remain civilized. What viewers didn't realize was how Howell's wealth commentary reflected 1960s economic anxieties. While America was experiencing unprecedented prosperity, Backus's character showed how meaningless money became when civilization disappeared. The most touching aspect of Howell was his gradual acceptance of his fellow castaways as equals. Despite class differences, the island forced genuine human connection that transcended social barriers. Backus revealed that his favorite scenes were quiet moments showing Howell's vulnerability beneath the pompous exterior. These glimpses of authentic humanity made the character more than just comic relief. Maryanne versus Ginger, the battle that never was. The supposed rivalry between Dawn Wells, Maryanne, and Tina Louise, Ginger, became television legend, but the real story was more complex than fan gossip suggested. Wells and Louise had different approaches to their careers that created professional tension rather than personal animosity. Tina saw Gilligan's Island as a stepping stone to movies, Wells revealed years later. "I saw it as the opportunity of a lifetime." This fundamental difference in perspective affected how they approached their roles and their relationship with the show's legacy. Louise grew increasingly frustrated with being typecast as Ginger and eventually distanced herself from reunions and fan events. Wells embraced Maryanne's popularity and became the show's most active ambassador to fans. The costume decisions that defined each character were carefully calculated. Maryanne's practical clothing and Ginger's glamorous outfits weren't just fashion choices. They represented different approaches to surviving adversity. What's fascinating is how fan preferences shifted over decades. Originally, Ginger was the clear favorite, but Maryanne's practical charm eventually won over audiences who valued competence over glamour. The endless parade of guest villains. One of Gilligan's Island's most absurd running jokes was how many people visited their supposedly deserted island. The show's writers had to constantly invent reasons why rescue remained impossible despite regular visitors. "We turned it into a game," writer Elroy Schwartz admitted. "How ridiculous could we make the guest appearances while still maintaining the show's internal logic?" The answer was very ridiculous indeed. Some of television's future stars made early appearances on the island. The guest villain episodes became a training ground for actors who would later become famous, from Don Rickles to Kurt Russell. The most challenging aspect was explaining why visitors never brought rescue. Writers developed elaborate scenarios involving villains who couldn't reveal the castaways' location without exposing their own crimes, creating a twisted logic that somehow worked. The episodes that were considered too crazy, even for Gilligan's Island, included alien visitors and time travelers. These scripts were written but never filmed, suggesting there actually were limits to the show's absurdity. The rescue that never came. The fundamental rule of Gilligan's Island was that the castaways could never permanently leave, no matter how many rescue opportunities arose. This created a narrative prison that writers had to navigate carefully for 3 seasons. Network executives made it clear that any permanent rescue would end the show, so writers developed increasingly creative ways to snatch hope away from the characters at the last moment. Gilligan's well-meaning interference became the standard explanation for failed escapes. What fans never knew was that several episodes were planned to end the series with successful rescue, but network pressure killed these storylines. The show's premise trapped the characters as effectively as the island itself. The most heartbreaking aspect was watching the castaways maintain hope despite repeated failures. This resilience became the show's emotional core, the triumph of optimism over experience. Fan campaigns to finally rescue the castaways led to reunion movies in the 1970s and 1980s. But by then, the original magic was impossible to recapture. The cultural legacy, America's eternal castaways. Nearly 60 years after its debut, Gilligan's Island remains a cultural touchstone that influenced everything from reality TV to survival shows. The simple premise of different personality types forced to cooperate became a template for countless programs. We accidentally created a social experiment, Sherwood Schwartz realized years later. 7 strangers learning to live together despite their differences. This theme resonated across generations facing their own social challenges. The show's educational impact was completely unintentional but remarkably effective. Children learned about teamwork, resourcefulness, and maintaining hope in difficult circumstances while being entertained by coconut radios and bamboo cars. What makes Gilligan's Island eternal is its fundamental optimism. Despite being trapped, the castaways never lose their humanity or their care for each other. In an increasingly cynical world, their innocent cooperation offers comfort and inspiration. The reunion movies prove that some magic can't be recaptured, but the original series continues finding new audiences who connect with its simple message. When things go wrong, good people take care of each other. If you've enjoyed these island secrets, watch Gilligan's Island again and appreciate the craftsmanship behind the chaos. Sometimes the simplest stories carry the deepest truths about friendship and hope.